Hello everyone. I have had multiple different jobs, and despite the fact that, like most people who work in customer service, I hate customers, pretty much every single one of those jobs has been in customer service, or at least public facing. I was a Christmas temp in a clothes shop for a very short while when I was 16. I worked in a cards and gifts type shop. I've worked at a call centre, an Italian restaurant, a temporary bar with a coffee shack. I've been a runner and a location marshal on TV sets, and right now I am a bar manager. Working in customer facing jobs, you meet people from all the walks of life, and you meet people that you never would have been able to encounter otherwise, with completely different lives to you. But there is one thing that unites all of those people, one trait that unifies all of the human race, something that we all take on whenever we're engaging with another human being to try and obtain goods or services from them. Sure. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, it's stupidity, right? They're all idiots. Yes, but mainly, they're all really, really weird. Just like, so bizarre. Sometimes in a really frustrating way, and sometimes in a really endearing way. But these people, they confuse me. The things they say, the actions they take. Who are you? Who? Daily, I will get asked for a picture of beer. A picture. Oh, babe, can I get a picture of beer? No. No, you can't, Stephanie. At the bar I work in, we serve Copperberg. Copperberg. I would say between 70 and 80% of the people who ask for a Copperberg do not ask for a Copperberg and do in fact ask for a Koppenberg. Koppenberg. A Koppenberg. One Kopp and one Berg, please. One time I was behind the bar. I was doing what I do when I'm at the bar. You know, serving people at the bar. And a pretty scantily clad young lady was stumbling and fumbling, trying to order some very much needed carbs. And then she like lost control of her wrist or something and threw a pile of menus into my face. And I just looked at her like, and she goes, "Sorry, it wasn't me, it was science." It checks out. New Year's Eve when we were working once, my friend Adam got approached by a woman and posed the question, "Excuse me, do we go outside to toot?" To toot? What? Naturally, as confused as you or me might be in that situation, he just stared at her in disbelief as the cogs in his brain gradually started to speed up, desperately trying to calculate what we might be talking about. Does she think we make people leave to fart? That is very considerate. More considerate than most. People are sat at their tables, they're eating their food, they're drinking their drinks. She has enough respect for her fellow citizens that she's willing to briefly excuse herself from the building to let one rip to maintain the inside air quality for those around us. Beautiful. Well, she's not actually properly willing, is she? Because she's not just going ahead and leaving. She's checking if it's the rules. Do we go outside to toot? Is that what we do here? Are those the rules? I wouldn't want to break the tooting rules. Don't get me wrong, I'm willing to break the societal rules, clearly, because if you say no, I'm just going to let one rip right here, right in front of your nose and ears, eyes, but not at the expense of the rules. But before he replies, the quick explanation of the company policy on customer farts, he works out what she means as she lifts up a vape. Do we go outside to toot? First of all, yes please, actually, if you could head out with the rest of the smokers, that'd be great. Secondly, what? Which one of her grandkids told her that that's what it's called to embarrass her in public? Sick prank, bro, she looks a fool. Got you, Nan, dickhead. Utter weirdos. I don't think half of them have ever been outside before. And certainly not to toot. The card shop I worked in wasn't just like a bog standard card shop, it specialised in like comedy cards. You got puns, you got rude cards, you got ones with swearsies on them, you got pictures of buttholes. Well, not pictures of buttholes. Pictures of butts, but not like porn. Well, my manager was lovely, it was a small shop with a small team, quite independent shifts. I enjoyed the job, but because of the nature of the stuff that we sold, obviously it wasn't to everyone's taste. Some people bloody love a bit of swearing and nakedness, but some people, it makes them feel sad. 50% of the shop was window, with a lot on display, so we had to do strategic merchandising. So there was a certain point of language and tone that was allowed anywhere in the window. You know, you got your bums, you got your black and white pictures of ladies flashing their gussets, you got your poo jokes and your toilet references, then certain points at which a card had to graduate to the upper section of the window. But I'm like, if anything, that puts it more on display, but I don't make the rules. At some point, the shop had a very, very angry non-customer who had stormed into the shop to give my manager a piece of her mind. A very boring piece of her mind, I'm sure, but it had all kicked off. And so, since that point, there were certain cards that weren't allowed in the window at all and had to be kind of hidden in the middle of this teeny tiny shop. You know, you got your nudity, you got your fucks, you got your shits, you got your insinuations of relatively graphic violence, etc, etc. But the problem was, with all the normal looking cards in the window, very normal people would come into the shop with a completely inaccurate perception of the stock that we sold. That's why you shouldn't be censoring the display. Stick a couple of fucks in the window and the right people will steer clear. Most of the time it was pretty fun to work there because it was just nice to be selling stuff that was making people laugh every day. And although the jokes were extremely worn out on me after the first couple of months, it was lovely having customers come up to the till literally beaming with joy and hearing little pockets of giggling friends as they tried to select the best pun for their loved one. But some people's reactions to these things were very odd. Again, I don't think a lot of these people had ever been outside before, or turned on the telly, or met another human. Some of them would pick up a card that they found inappropriate and they would bring it to the till to tell me that it was a bad card. Okay, I am 19 years old. I am the only one here. Where would you like to take this conversation, sir? No one is making you buy this. There must have been 2 or 3 instances where someone was complaining about how awful a card was, and then I had to interrupt our conversation to serve an actual paying customer who was buying that very card. Just grow up. But with those types of people knocking about all the time, there was a 4th category of humorous card that, while once upon a time had been displayed out in the shop with all its friends, enjoying the sunlight, enjoying the fresh air conditioning of the shop and people's happy smiling faces, was now contained to a drawer behind the till, because they contained something forbidden. A forbidden word that then became the word that named the drawer. But this is in America. So the drawer was called the cunt drawer, and the cunt drawer led to several of the weirdest interactions with customers that I've ever had. Some would discover the drawer on request, like they've perused the shop, found it quite unsatisfactory, swaggered on up to me at the till and been like, "You got anything a little stronger?" But many knew of the drawer. Someone would hover around the shop, passing their gaze over all the cards but never properly looking at any of them, then glance back at us but avoid eye contact, and then keep disappearing behind the displays periodically. Which, obviously, very closely mirrors the body language of a shoplifter. But then they'd wait till everybody else had left the shop, creep towards the till, and I'm like, "I'm about to get stabbed, mate. I'm on minimum wage. Take what you want." And then they'd stare at me with their shifty little eyes and be like, "I need to look in the drawer." You need to look in the drawer? I'm sorry, sir, I don't understand. Is there a particular type of card that you're looking for today? I need to see the cards in the drawer. Quick, man, I think I hear a cop. People are terrified. They're so scared, the little weirdos. Some people will be the complete opposite. They're like, I don't want to look like a pussy. I ain't scared of no word. And they'd storm over really aggressively, like, "Show me the card!" It's so silly. It's so silly. We also sold funny paraphernalia, like willy warmers. Many customers had the genius idea of putting lots of normal items on top and then hiding their willy warmer right at the bottom, upside down, in the hope that I won't notice what they're buying. Like, maybe I'm going to charge them based on weight? Maybe this shop assistant doesn't need to scan the barcode of every item I'm purchasing. I have never been to a shop. It's my customer voice. They all learned that if you're going to try and be subtle because you're embarrassed about comedy willy paraphernalia, you will be dealt with accordingly. Oh, what's that you're buying? That was a weird time in my life. But I have to say, my weirdest customer experience, well, not weird, like there's an element of like, this is a weird way to go about this process, but I don't want to be mean. It was a weird situation. I used to work in a call centre where I sold broadband, phones, telly for a company that rhymes with pie. Now I'm really new at this point. It's like within my first week on the phones, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. When you work in a call centre, you've got your headset and your call software and stuff, and you've also got your sales software, whatever it is that you do. And as you're talking, you've got to try and keep the conversation going naturally whilst multitasking for your life, clicking through all these different options and typing notes and stuff. And it sounds straightforward, but when you first start it, it's so difficult to keep both of those processes going. So you're slow and you're bad at everything and you very heavily over-rely on the hold button. Sometimes they're like nattering away in your ear and you're trying to decipher what it is that they want while simultaneously doing an availability search on their postcode. And it's a lot when you're like 18 and you're nervous and you're in your new job. So they'll say their bit about what they want and then you're like, right, okay, I'm just going to check through the options for you. I'm just going to pop you on hold for a second, is that alright? I'm just going to pop you on hold. I'm just going to pop you on hold. I'm going to pop you on hold. It's supposed to pop. It's light-hearted. It's gentle. Because that way you can stop them and just be like, right, what am I doing? It is so much easier to think and do your job when there's not a stranger just breathing in your ear. Oh, sorry, I'm just having a bit of an issue with my system here. I'm just gonna pop you on hold. The company used a system of account access that's pretty commonplace. It's like the standard way to protect an account that you might be altering by phone. If you're the account holder, you can call up and access the account by giving the last few digits of the debit card used, the total of a previous bill, etc, etc. Or you can set up a designated password that anyone can use to gain access to that account, but it's not compulsory. If you're not the account holder, the only way that you're allowed to get access to the account info is they will ask you for that password. So if the account holder hasn't set up a password, then they are the only person who can access the account. Even if someone else was to call up with all the other info, if they're not the account holder, the only way they can get into it is with password. Does that make sense? Like you could speak to the account holder, pass the security checks, and then they could hand the phone over to someone else, but we would need to speak to them initially. So this woman calls up and says, I want to make some changes to an account. And I say, cool. She gives me the account number, I bring it up, I ask if she is account holder Mr. Jones, and she says, no, that's my husband. So I check the account, and Mr. Jones does not have a password set up on his account. So I'm all, oh, I'm really sorry, Mrs. Jones. In order to make any changes to the account, I actually need to speak directly to your husband because he's the account holder and he hasn't got a password set up for it.
Well, you can't.
Right, okay. If he's unable to come to the phone right now, you could always call back when he is available. Or you could get him to call up in his spare time and set up a password for you so that you can access the account whenever you need to.
Well, he's not going to set up a password for it.
Right. Well, in that case, I need to speak to Mr. Jones himself.
Well, you can't.
Okay. Would you like to call us back, then? Or something?
No, I want to organise this now.
As I said, I can't actually make any changes to the account without speaking to the account holder directly.
This is ridiculous.
I understand that it's a little bit inconvenient that he hasn't set up a password you could use, but as I said, if you could just get him to call up and do that, then you'll be able to make changes to the account at any time.
I just need to make some changes to the account.
And I just need you to know that you can't do that because you're not the account holder. Are you sure I can't speak to Mr. Jones?
You can't speak to him. You can only speak to me.
Right, well, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones, but in that case, I really don't think there's anything I can do for you today. Are you sure he's not available just to quickly confirm the account info and then he can hand back over to you?
No, he won't be doing that.
Why not?
Because he's dead.
Okay. I'm just gonna pop you on hold. My customer is dead. My customer is dead. My customer is dead. Please help. I understand that that's probably not the easiest call to make. I sympathise, I really do. But might I suggest a practice round of the call first? Because conversationally, the back and forth, that was going how things were meant to go, kind of. But there was a key element missing from the very beginning of our interaction that could have saved us a lot of confusion and a lot of time and a lot of negative emotions. Just a key bit of information that I really could have done with, and you withheld it. Mrs. Jones, that was really weird.